Hello everyone. Here's another video. Today I'm going to talk about writing because, as many of you may know, today officially marked the start of NaNoWriMo, which is National November Writing Month. Actually, it might be National Novel Writing Month. Not sure, but it is in the month of November, and it's you pledge to write 50,000 words in the whole month of November, which sounds like a lot. I know that I mention that to people sometimes, and they really go, "That's a ridiculous amount of words." It's not really. And I mean, I've won it 3 years in a row. They call it winning when you actually write your 50,000 words or more that you've pledged. So it's not undoable. And the first time I did it, I was working full time. So that's another thing that people go, well, I just don't have the time. You'll make the time if you really want to do it, and that's what it comes down to. But here are some suggestions for you. First, number one, you need to figure out which type of writer you are, because there's basically two types of writers. The first type is the architect, would be the best way to describe them. They're the ones who meticulously plan out every detail. They're like, okay, in chapter 3, they need to find the gun, because in chapter 4, they're going to find the murder victim, and in chapter 5, they're going to start having suspects, and things like that. And then there is the free writer, is the other one, which is what I am. I basically just sit down and I start writing, and I just kind of stream of consciousness, just let it all come out, and then I go, when I get done, when I start editing, that's when I start making my corrections, going, oh, I have to mention the gun here in chapter 3. I have to, because I'm talking about the murder in chapter 4, and if they haven't found the gun, how would they know about the murder? As an example. So you need to figure out which type of writer you are, because that will really help you with knowing how you're going to proceed for the rest of the month. Step 2. Personally, I do not do this, but I know a lot of writers that actually do this, and they have a lot of good results with it. So I'm mentioning it because even though it doesn't work for me, it doesn't mean it doesn't necessarily work for you. And it's to have an outline. Now, even if you are a free writer, you can still have an outline. You can have a base idea like, okay, I need to mention these characters, and this is the thing that happens, and this is what happens to the characters, and I believe this is going to be the resolution. Even if you are a free writer, you can just write a basic outline like that. Architects, of course, will probably write a more meticulous outline. Now, you can actually do these steps before NaNoWriMo starts. If you've never written before, trying to figure out what type of writer you are for a month where you have a goal can be a little daunting. Not to say it can't be done, but it could be a little daunting. So, once you've done all this, then you start writing. And I know that seems weird as the step 3 is start writing. But for a lot of people, that's the biggest fear, is that start, that putting words onto paper or typing words into your word processor. It scares them. And the biggest thing to realize is that fear is just uncertainty, it's insecurities, it's things of that nature. It's nothing wrong with it, completely human, but you need to move past it. And the only way to move past it is by doing it. Step 4. Realize that there's a very good chance you're going to have a day or two where you don't get to write, or where you only write a couple hundred words. I always say, even if you have a day where you're like, I'm only going to get to write a couple hundred words, write. That is the key. You need to keep writing, because I have plenty of writer friends who go, oh, I'm just 1,000 words behind, no big deal. And then like 2 days later, I'm just 3,000 words behind, no big deal. A few days later, I'm just 10,000 words behind, no big deal. And it snowballs. It does. It really does. It gets away from you, and then you're done. I have heard, I don't know anybody personally that's done this, but I have heard of writers who managed to write 25,000 words in the last couple days. I'm going to tell you, I can't imagine those words were good. They got to be garbage. And again, I could be proven wrong, but if you're writing 25,000 words in a couple of days, you're just regurgitating words. There's nothing to them. You're just getting something out just so you can have a victory. And cheating in NaNoWriMo is like cheating at solitaire. really doesn't do you any good. It's completely pointless. It just shows that you're willing to cheat to be like, hey, I did it. It's more about what you expect from yourself. So, having said all that, understand that for some people, when they do start NaNoWriMo, they have the best intentions, and then life gets in the way. Because, unfortunately, life does not pause for writing. It'd be nice if it did, but it doesn't. So, when that does happen, a lot of writers I know have gotten frustrated, like, well, I'm just not a writer. No, don't look at it like that. Keep writing, even if you don't make the 50,000 words. Let's say halfway through the month, your kid gets sick, and that's a whole week that you're taking care of your kid, which is important. I'm not saying not taking care of your kid isn't important, but that sets you back, and by the time you get back to it, you have trouble remembering where you were, your thought processes, and stuff like that, and you end up only with 30,000 words. Congratulations, you have written 30,000 words. That is something to be proud of. You don't knock yourself. Don't say to yourself, well, I'm a failure. I said I was going to do this, and I didn't do this. Because that's not fair. Because life does happen when you're in the middle of the writing. In fact, life is what makes us write. We write is in responses to life. So don't look at it like, oh, it's a bad thing. It's not. And this last step is something that I personally don't do. It doesn't give me any benefits, but I know a lot of writers that it does. Find a support group. Find a group of other writers, even if they're writers in another city, another state, another country, and support each other. And the reason I say it doesn't work for me is because I've always been very self-motivated, and once I decided to start doing NaNoWriMo, like I said, 3 years, done it all 3 years. And that's not bragging, that's just saying. But for some writers, they need that support group. They need those friends around them or their colleagues to kind of support them, give them a boost when they're feeling down. And they also they like feeling responsible and helping boost other people. And again, nothing wrong with that. For a lot of writers, that makes the difference between writing a successful novel and failing. And lastly, when you write, like any other art, and it is art and it is a craft, you should A, take it seriously, but B, also remember to have fun. And that's the thing I think a lot of writers forget. When I see a lot of writers doing this NaNoWriMo thing, it's like it's a marathon. It's a test of endurance. It's grueling. It's punishing. And it shouldn't be like that. If you're writing for like a school project or something like that, yeah, maybe something where you may not have any personal interest in the subject, but you have to write the subject because that's part of your grade. That's okay. But if you look at your regular writing like that, then there's something wrong. Then maybe writing isn't for you. And writing isn't for everybody. I read a statistic that writing is one of those, like, something that we all do, and I'm not even talking about using grammar correctly and using proper punctuation and spellings, things of that nature. I'm talking about, like, actually being able to put your thoughts into a medium that others can read and follow coherently. It's not something everybody is meant for. And if you do attempt it, and you attempt it, let's say, a couple times, I'm not just talking about a couple bad days where you just can't get stuff out, you're having writer's block. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about, like, actual... or you've attempted, let's say, NaNoWriMo twice, and both times you've only got 5,000 words, and it was like pulling teeth at the dentist without Novocaine. Maybe it's not for you, and that's actually okay. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Personally, I would rather attempt something that I was interested in, and then realize it's not for me, and move on, than either A, never attempt it, or B, keep attempting it over and over again and becoming increasingly frustrated with it, because then it's not fun and it ruins your enjoyment of it. I've actually known a couple of writers that burnt out on reading because they beat their head against the wall trying to write something and they just weren't having any luck at it. So, I hope that's helpful. Yeah, if you are a first-time subscriber, welcome. Go ahead and subscribe at the very bottom of the video, and like it if you liked it, and I will talk to you all later. Have a good day.